Well, hey there. Welcome to APUS History with Lennox. I'm Lennox, and today we're going to dive into APUSH Topic 1.3, European Exploration of the Americas. Now, the big idea I want you to walk away with today is Europeans came to the Americas for various reasons and different objectives, if you will. If you remember in our previous video, we looked at the Native American cultures pre-European contact. Well, now that the Europeans are coming, everything is going to change. And not just for the Native Americans. It's going to change for the Europeans as well. But we'll get to that later. So let's look at some of these reasons. What were the motivating factors that led to this age of exploration? Well, simply put, you can look at the political, the economic, and the social reasons, because all three contributed to exploration. Politically, we're starting to see unification in Europe. We're starting to see more centralized governments and the formation of city-states. And as these governments grew, they're looking to expand their lands and expand their power and their influence. Economically, during the Crusades, we discovered that over in Asia, they had a lot of really cool luxury goods. And the elites or the wealthy of Europe, they wanted their piece of those goods. So new trade routes, faster trade routes are going to be a driving factor behind exploration. And finally, socially, we're starting to see the populations in Europe start to explode, and expansion falls on the minds of all of these new governments. Now, when we look at the economic reasons, when we look at those trade routes, I really think that's got to be the number one reason, the number one motivating factor behind all of this exploration. It was about the money. Now, if trade was the driving factor behind all this, why the rush to explore? Because we had overland trade routes already available to us. The problem with those routes is they were slow and they were dangerous. And so these governments started looking at more efficient ways and safer ways to get Asian goods into Europe. One of the first countries that dove into the exploration game is going to be Portugal. The person you should be familiar with is Prince Henry the Navigator. And what he did was he set sail from Portugal and he headed south down along the Atlantic coast of Africa. And he set up a whole lot of trade networks as he traveled. Now, one thing that made it a lot easier for Prince Henry the Navigator and then other explorers was the new technology being introduced at this point. New ships, new navigation tools, all of these were contributing to the age of exploration. A couple of terms you should be familiar with. The caravel. This was a ship that was designed to cut through the waves a lot easier. It had smaller sails so it could move a lot faster. And then navigation-wise, you had new tools such as the astrolabe that made navigating by the stars that much easier. And of course, during all this time, explorers were developing better and more accurate charts and graphs. All of this contributed to more and more people wanting to get into the exploration game. Well, speaking about getting into the game, when other countries saw how much money the Portuguese were making from trade, they wanted to dive right in. Let's talk about Spain for a second. Spain had just come out of what was known as the Reconquista, the unification of Spain following the exile of the Muslim Moors. Well, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, they wanted to get in on this exploration as well. So they're going to fund a journey to find a water route to Asia. The guy they brought on board, well, the Italian, Christopher Columbus. And he's going to set sail in 1492 with 3 ships. And after several months of travel, they are going to land on what is known as San Salvador Island. Now, when Columbus arrives there, he thinks he got to the East Indies. He thinks he's in Asia. So he calls the local people Indians. Well, he didn't find a route to Asia. In fact, he never found a route to Asia after 3 separate voyages. But what he did find was Native Americans. And at first, the Native Americans were willing to work with Columbus and trade with him and stuff. But then he saw what they had, and that was gold. And that's going to start to change everything. And now we're looking to the New World, to the Americas, as a source for new wealth for different countries throughout Europe. And what happens next is literally, as I said at the beginning of this video, going to change the world. But that's topic 1.4, which we'll do in our next video. If you have any questions, please go ahead and post them in the comments. And if you like what you heard, go ahead and subscribe. We'll see you next time.